Hello, today we're going to be going over the East and West Alta. It is a 2022 2900 kBH, and we are going to be starting right up front here, basically with our tongue jack. You got the one switch here on the one side here is going to be your light. Your other one is how you extend and retract to raise and lower. This is how we get on and off the tow vehicle. This is also how we level front to back. I do always like to recommend, while you're still hooked to the tow vehicle, to make sure you're level from side to side first. They have a little stick-on levels you can stick on in the front and on the side of your coach, or you can just put a carpenter's level right inside the doorway. But you may have to put some blocks down to elevate one side or the other, but use that tow vehicle to roll onto those blocks. It just does make it a whole lot easier. Once you've got the side to side good, you would unhitch from your tow vehicle and then basically level front to back using this guy here. Once you are level from front to back and side to side, then you're going to lower your stabilizers. Nice thing is these guys are located are motorized, and on your off door side is going to be the switches. I will show you that here in just a few moments. Behind that is going to be where our two 20-pound tanks are. These guys have both been filled, minus what was used to test the propane system with. But this guy here is going to be your regulator. This here tells you basically, one, what tank you're using, but two, if the tank is empty. So as of this time, the tanks are both off, so it's showing us that we have no propane flow. I'm going to turn this guy on. You hear the click. Give it just a second. And that guy should turn green for me. Quit being temperamental. There it goes. But then from there, you're going to be ready to use the propane on the coach. I do always like to recommend starting at the stove. Get propane going to that stove. Helps work that propane through the rest of your coach. This guy here is designed to where you can technically have both tanks on. Once the one tank is empty, it will start pulling from the other tank. But the problem with that is that you will not know if the one tank is empty unless you come out here and look at this, okay? At this guy here. So I always like to recommend just having one tank on at a time, so that way you know when one of them canisters is empty instead of finding out they're both empty at the, when that time comes. Basically though, all you do here is just loosen this guy, take it off, and go get it refilled. All right, then back behind there, we're going to have our batteries. I believe these guys are 227s. They came with the coach from the factory. All right, then as we come around to the other side over here, we're going to start right here in this area here. Basically, you're going to have a GFCI protected outlet, 110. Your cable and satellite hookup. So if you're using campground cable, you do have to make sure you turn off the TV antenna booster. And I will show you where that is located once we have stepped inside. This guy here is going to be your battery disconnect. So basically, when you're not using the camper, you would turn this guy and pull the key out. What it does is it disconnects the camper from the battery, so if something was left on, most of the times it's usually the 12-volt fridge, it can drain your battery. I will also tell you that there is solar panels on this guy, but just to be warned, the fridge can actually pull more power than what the panels can to help keep that battery charged. So just please be mindful of that. But you can also change those settings inside the fridge, and we will show you that once we have stepped inside. But whenever you are towing or hooked up to Sure Power, you do want this guy on. Then down below, you're going to have your little outside wash area. Your options are hot and cold water, and it does come with a sprayer. This guy is a quick connect style sprayer. And there is also another connection port on the back side of the coach, and I'll show you that once we have stepped around to the back side. This here is your monitor for the solar panel. Basically, all this guy does is it just kind of helps monitors the battery. And once the battery gets below a certain level, it'll allow that surge from the panels to come through to charge that battery. Once it senses the battery is full, it kind of shuts that supply off, so that way the batteries are not being overcharged. This light here is going to be a motion sensor light. That's what this little eyelid up here on the top is. So underneath here, you would have a 1 hash mark, a 0, and a 2 hash mark. I will show you inside because there's a little one that you can see this a lot easier on the inside, so you can see your switch down here at the bottom. The 1 hash mark, the light continuously stays on. The 2 hash mark is the motion sensor setting. Then down below is going to be where we would fill the fresh water tank. It is pressure fed. So I usually do like to recommend using a pressure regulator on the water spigot. So that way too strong water pressure doesn't damage any water lines. But from there, you're just going to hook it up, turn it on, and it'll start filling the fresh tank. You do want to read the monitor panel inside for when the tank reads full to make sure you shut the water off so it doesn't start overfilling. Over time, that overfilling can cause damage. Then right next to that's where your city water hookup is located. For this, and once again, you do always want to make sure you have a pressure regulator on the spigot. From there, your options of an inline water filter and then your blue or white water drinking hose. From there, you'll hook it up, turn it on, you'll be ready to use the cold side right away. You guys would have to wait till the hot water heater fills before water would start coming from the hot side. And then real quick, I'm just going to show you right here off to the side. Pretty much you got your manual crank handles. One is for the tongue jack and the other one is for the slide room. So if something happened to the slide room, you still have a way to bring it in. Now right here it says your antifreeze inlet so you can winterize your coach. For that, what you have to do is you got to remove this panel right here, and on the back side of this panel there's usually two valves you're going to have to turn. They're both white, but basically what it is one's shutting off the supply line from the fresh water tank, and the other one is opening the hose that you would stick into your gallon jugs of antifreeze to winterize your coach. From there, all you do is basically turn on the water pump and you winterize the coach. You do always want to make sure that all the water is out of the coach when you go to winterize. When you do that, you will use less antifreeze. These guys here are going to be locked with their black Bauer key. Pretty much it just goes in, twists, and locks. Right here, as you see, it is labeled freshwater drain. So underneath here, you're going to see these blue two lines right here, but then you also have a line back here. This is the one where you would drain your fresh water tank. This here is one is your breather tube, one is an overflow tube. So if you was not paying attention to the tank or to the monitor panel and you overfilled the tank, the water will start pouring out of those holes. It is also labeled right here, low point drain. So right here are the low point drains, which are basically the lowest points of the water lines inside the coach. So when you go to winterize, you would open these guys. I always recommend going through, open up all the faucets to relieve the pressure so that water can drain out. And then if you used your water pump, go ahead and turn that pump on a little bit to try to push any of that excess water out of that pump as well. Then from there, you would close those guys off and then winterize your coach. I also like to use these guys for when I'm done camping. Basically what I would do is I would open these guys up. Usually I'll open the bathroom faucet or the furthest faucet, which is going to be the kitchen faucet. Make sure your drain plug ain't in there. But as you drive home, that air is going to blow through those lines to help push any excess water out for you so you wouldn't have any water left in there that becomes stagnant or bad. Once again, you would also, like I'm saying, getting all the water out of the coach, you do also want to make sure you empty out the water heater. And we'll talk about that a little bit more once we get to the other side where it's located. These guys here are going to be your switches for your stabilizer jacks. Basically, each one controls each side. So your one closest to you is this one. So then your other one will be over there. And then to retract them. Now these guys are meant to just stabilize the camper. We are not trying to lift the camper with these guys, okay? It's just meant to stabilize. All right, as we go further along here, we're gonna have the black tank flush. So with the black tank flush, it's basically a sprayer inside your black tank that sprays around and gets all the nastiness out. Well, I do always like to recommend using a pressure regulator on this as well, because there's plastic check valve on the back side of this that can get damaged for too strong a water pressure. But then go out and get yourself a black hose. Black tank, black hose, it does keep it simple, okay? So you'd have blue or white for your drinking water, black for your waste, to clean out the waste tank. You never have to worry about the water coming through here actually touching the tank because it's going through that check valve. So whenever you're done doing your flush, you go to unhook your hose. Water usually does come back out of this because on the back side of this there is a hose that goes to that check valve, and the length can be whatever they felt like putting in, honestly. So there will always be water that comes back out. Just please note, once again, that water never touched the tank, okay? As you see, there is a caution sticker on this. The reason for that is whenever you go to use your black tank flush, you have to make sure that your termination valve down here is in the open position. This is in the open position at this time. So generally, this will be closed. You're gonna hook up your sewer hose, goes into the ground, and then you'll pull it to start dumping. and then you're gonna start your flush. A lot of times when we go to dump our black tank, it's already full. If we hook up water and start filling that tank and it's already full, it's only gonna come out of one or two places. It's either gonna come out of the toilet or the vent stack on the roof. But both situations will be bad. So always make sure that valve is open before you start your black tank flush. Then after you're done, you would close that guy off, and then you would pull your two grays to drain your gray tanks. The one on the left side is gonna be your bathroom sink and shower. The one on the right is just your kitchen sink. Then they also do provide you a light here, so if you had to hook up at night, you could see. All right, as we come around to the other side, or as we come a little further down, we will talk about our tires once we can see them on the other side. You do have a storage container back here, or storage compartment. A lot of times you can keep your nice 50 amp power cord right inside there. This does come with the coach. And then you have your switches for the rear stabilizer jacks there located. Your sewer hose can be stored in the bumper just by pulling this cap off. The only thing is that the elbow that comes with your sewer hose will not fit in there. So what I always like to recommend is go get yourself a plastic container that has ice cream in it. We'll have a good time or a depressing time eating the ice cream, but we want to use that plastic container when it's empty, because what I've seen previous customers do is they would find a spot in the storage and they would actually screw it onto the floor, and then they just keep that elbow in there. So that way it doesn't roll all around getting anything potentially nasty. Next, we're gonna have our ladder to the roof. The weight capacity is 250 pounds. But basically we're going up there to inspect the roof. We're not trying to go up there and have any kind of NASCAR parties. But basically what we're doing is we're trying to make sure that any sealant hasn't kind of created air bubbles from softening it up from the sun and you pull it down the road. Or over time it dries out and starts cracking. When that happens, you do want to clean that lap sealant and then put new lap sealant over it. You can usually do that about 2 to 3 times before it is usually recommended. You want to peel all that old sealant off and put down new. We do have our spare tire here as well. It is pre-wired for an observational backup camera. Here's that spray port I was just talking about for that quick connect sprayer. We come around to this side here. It does provide you a little outside mini fridge. You can just basically set your temperature here. They provide a leash holder, so if you had a dog, you can set them up on here. We'll come back and talk about the steps here in just a moment. As we come around to the other side of our door, you're going to have a hookup for outside, cable for, once again, either TV/cable or satellite. A 110, so you're able to hook up the or plug the TV in. But then right here's a sticker that shows where you can mount an outside TV mount. Usually it's a little square plate that would sit here. A lot of times people will buy what looks like a V-shape style mount, so that way it's pretty much flush to the coach and it just slides in and stays there. It's not pivotable or motionable, anything along those lines. I think they might have a version where it slides into that V notch, but you're still able to pull it out and swivel it. But don't quote me on that. Do got the outside speakers on, so you can try to hear those guys operate, and I'll show you how to turn those on and off once we've stepped inside. We got our pretty little ambiance lights for the awning. And then we're gonna have our furnace here. Pretty much, as you see the caution, we ain't trying to block this so they can properly breathe. But we do like to recommend getting mud dauber screens to put over these guys so mud daubers or wasps don't get in there and build nests. When that happens, then you have to bring it into a shop. It has to be worked on because a lot of times it's gotta be pulled out, and that can get kind of pricey. All right, so with our tires, you got a notice sticker here. It says that you are to check your lug nuts at 50, 100, and 200 miles. I always recommend that whenever you leave the campground, you're usually making a bunch of churns when you're leaving, but a lot of times first place we stop is the gas station to refuel to head home. Well, while you're refueling, you can check these lug nuts and you're knocking out 2 birds with 1 stone. What you're going to torque these guys to is 100 foot-pounds. So if you do not have a torque wrench, it is recommended that you go out and buy one. But then you also want to make sure you always keep the tires topped off to their max PSI level, which with these guys are 80 PSI. Nice thing is they are the Goodyear Endurance, which is a really good tire for campers. But they also put it in nice good size lettering on the side so you can see that. So you ain't got to try to look for this smaller writing to figure out the PSI level. So next we're going to have the water heater. And this guy here is your anno rod. As you see, this guy is already starting to do its job from when we tested the system. But it basically starts out the size of a dime and works itself down to the size of a coat hanger. You probably can't see that little interior piece. But it starts here and works its way this way. So usually once it gets to about right here, I usually recommend just going ahead, or I'm sorry, I got that backwards. It starts here and works this way. So usually once it gets going to about here, you want to swap it out because this piece here is usually liable to fall off inside the tank. It's not going to hurt your tank. It'll slowly erode away, but just always be mindful of that. This guy here is a 1 1/16 socket, and it goes right inside down here at the bottom. But like I was saying on the other side, when you go to drain it, because we're going to try to get all the water out of the coach, you would open this guy right here to relieve the pressure, and then you would take this guy out, and then you will drain the water out through here. This guy has the options of gas and electric. For your electric switch, that's going to be located down there at the bottom left side. And right now it's in the off position because we do not have any water in it. For this switch here, for the electric side, you have to make sure there is water in the water heater. If there is no water in the water heater and you turn that on, you will burn up the element. All right, then as we come a little further down, we're going to have our door for the bedroom side. And what I did is, since they provide you with 2 purple keys for your entry doors, I actually went ahead and labeled the one for you, kind of colored it in black and wrote a B on it for bedroom. Oh. Got a nice good hinge on that guy so it's stiff, because he's got what they call a friction hinge. But basically with your door handles, for your door handle itself, you turn the key to the right and it locks the handle. For the deadbolt, what you do is almost lost them. You're gonna have your key go in, and then that turns to the left, it'll click, but you're unable to pull that key out. You have to bring it back up and down to pull that key out. If you turn this key to the right, thinking you locked your deadbolt, but you're able to pull the key out, that shows you did not lock your deadbolt. These steps here are real simple. You just kind of lift and pull out, and then they just fold and fold. Real nice and simple. And then we have the other side of our pass-through front storage compartment, where they do have a GFCI outlet located right here. And then they do also have this light that is controlled by a center push button. All right, as we come back to our main entry door here, same concept with the door handle. So you do have this guy here to release the screen door. So if you want to adjust the screen door open, this slides over to block any bugs from getting inside. This is their handle to open the door. This is the handle when you go to close your door. And then this bottom lock is just for the deadbolt. So at night you can lock up your coach so nobody would potentially come in. All right, so next we got our steps here. All right, with our steps, these guys are pretty nice. They just kind of go up and in. But there's one important thing that you do always have to know, is that you have to make sure your entry door is all the way open when you go to open these. If this is not all the way open, this guy here can actually catch this and cause damage to your screen door. Real quick, there is a storage container located right down here as well. You pull this guy here to unlock this here so you can adjust your feet. And the reason for that is because when you go to set your steps up, you do want to make sure that this guy is going to be as flat with the threshold as possible. Okay, too much of an elevation on this will actually cause damage to both the screen door and the entry door if you are not careful. All right, then as we step inside, our fire extinguisher is going to be located right here on the left-hand side. But then we're going to have our control panel here, basically. It tells you your status of the battery, your freshwater tank, your black tank, and then grade 1 and grade 2. Then we got the water pump. You're only using the water pump if you're using the fresh water tank. If you're hooked to city water, you do not need this guy. And then you got your water heater. That's going to be the gas side of your water heater only. But then we got our interior lights, which operates just the living area. Our awning lights. And then we got accented lights above our slide. And underneath our little kitchen area down here as well. Then our switch to bring our slide room in and out. And then our switch to bring our awning in and out. I'm going to try to bring this out just a little bit. Do have a camper next to us, so I won't be able to open it up all the way. But I do want to try to at least open it up enough to show you that you are able to create a pitch on this guy if you wanted to. So basically with that, make sure this handle's loose. It's never to be tight whenever you go to bring it in. It does have to be loose when you go to bring it in. But what you can do is slide it, snug it tight, and then what it does is, you see, it kind of creates a pitch. Now, I do have to tell you, this is meant to be as a shade protectant. And anytime the coach is being unoccupied, like you guys are not going to be at the campsite, and it's going to be unattended to. It is recommended that you should bring that guy in. The reason why is you never know when a strong gust of wind can come or a pop-up storm. But basically, 2 strong gusts of wind can cause damage to both the awning and the camper if you are not careful. We're going to bring this guy back in. As you see, he is not the fastest guy in the world. Most awnings are not. Unless you have the one I believe is the 18 bolt. And then that one's got a little more power to it. Alright. Right here is one of them other motion sensor lights I was telling you about. But like I said, it's a little easier so you can see here. You got the 1 hash mark where the light would continuously stay on. The circle is off, and the 2 is the motion sensor setting side. All right, then as we come over here, we're going to have the entertainment section here. I'll come back to the TV in just a second. But basically with our radio here, we have the outside speakers on. That is speaker zone 2, which is located up here. You can turn that guy on, turn that off. So speaker zone 1 is your inside speaker. It does have a couple of different options on it. You can change between modes. So it's got an auxiliary in port, which I believe is right there. TV, which is a connection on the back side to where you could tie the TV in. DVD player, if you wanted to have a DVD player and tie it in. And then Bluetooth, where you can connect your phone to it. And then back to the radio. Then down below is going to be our fireplace. So you got the controls located right up here as well. To turn that guy on. Your next switch is so you can change your flame colors. Ooh, pretty. The F4, pretty much it transitions between the colors it provides for the flame. I like that one the best. Kind of intermixes both of them. Your other one, you're able to change the color of the rocks. Once again, 4 will transition between all colors. But then your next one is going to be low fan, high fan, or L1 is just going to be that ambiance look. So if you guys are trying to have a little nice romantic evening, you can turn this on with just that ambiance look, lay down a bare rug, and do your thing. And then your last button here is going to be a timer from 30 minutes to, I believe this guy was 9 hours. 9 hours, where it would just shut off on its own. Then down below here is going to be where our fuse panel box is located. So basically anything that runs off the Sure Power, so it has to be plugged in to work, is going to be on your breakers. Everything that operates on the 12 volt or the battery is on the fuses. And they do got everything right here labeled on here for what is what. Alright, let me see if I... Look at that, nice, super easy. So, this remote here, you're able to operate the fireplace with. This one here, you're able to use the radio. And then our TV remote. Basically, we'll turn this guy on. Give it just a minute while it powers up. And then we will show you
Though he's running out of road.
Yeah, I don't suppose you see our all-road East Jack Jesse floating around up here somewhere.
Must be in the backpack. All right, so with this, whenever you guys get to a new area, especially if you're not close to the St. Louis area, you guys will have to scan the channels to pick up the local channels in the area. To do so, you got your menu button. And what I normally do is I just push this arrow key back one time. It will take you to channels. You go down, you're going to choose air. Or if you're using campground cable, swap over to cable. But then you'll just go down to auto scan and scan for channels. Right now it's already been channel scanned. These guys usually, where we're located, usually picks up anywhere between 38 to 43 channels. So if you're close enough to the St. Louis area, you won't have to do that. It's only if you decide you're going to the West Coast, East Coast. If you're not near St. Louis, you will have to rescan for channels. So, also inside this top drawer right here is also going to be where your owner's manual is located. Basically, it has most of the instruction manuals for the appliances in the coach. They have a sticker right here on your cutting board. Basically, it's an app you would download. You put in your camper information, and it basically downloads like a PDF file for you to where you will get your specific manual for the camper side. Then we got the microwave up top here. Basically, it's pretty self-explanatory. I always do like to recommend setting the time. So if you guys do go out and go somewhere and do something, you come back, you see your time has not been set. That means there was a power failure at your campsite. You would like to maybe check and make sure it was either from the or make sure it wasn't from the campsite, or if it was from the electric company. At a larger campgrounds, if it's like a full weekend, like this weekend's a holiday weekend, a lot of campgrounds are really full. You are liable to experience power surges. Okay, so just please be mindful of that. Then we got our hood range where we got our light and our fan. That guy does take a minute to get going. And then your stove. This guy actually flips up like so. It is not a glass stovetop. But then from there, all you'd have to do is just turn. It starts lighting on its own. It's a real nice feature there. So, I believe. And then the one on the far side here is for your oven. Which, as you hear, it is spark ignited as well. And since I didn't really run a lot of propane to this guy may not light up for us. But here on the side, you have your oven, where it allows the light to come on, and the light underneath. I did also just hear a click, so let me double check that. Just want to make sure that I was pretty positive that didn't have to be on for it to light. But as you see, that propane has not cycled all the way through over here, so it does take a minute for it to actually get lit. But then you got your stove. Basically, it just lights up our handles here. But then once the stove is lit, you have your temperature settings here and a timer setting here. It ain't going to let me do anything because it is not sensing a flame at this time. But that basically, it's digital. Digital temp sets, digital timers, things along that nature. You do get storage down below here. I believe, is this where... So, in behind this guy here... I'm pretty sure. Yep, okay. Try to pull this out and make it a little easier to kind of try to see. Basically, though, you would have to try to remove this piece here so you can try to access the back of the water heater. There's going to be two valves on the back side. They are both white, but basically that's part of your winterization. You're shutting off the water heater so antifreeze will not go inside when you go to winterize the coach. In there. There we go. Always like to do a discount double check because sometimes those guys don't go in the glides just right. Down here they do provide you a dog bowl, and then this guy here will extend out. When you go to unlock it, you're going to lift and push these guys in, but be careful because it will pinch your fingers if you are not. And then right down here is going to be where our LP/carbon monoxide detector is. It is always recommended you want to test this guy every 9 to 14 days to make sure that it is properly working. And all you got to do that is just push this button. And basically right now we are performing the test. And then this guy does believe gives us a different tone as well. And then should go to green. So we just performed that test. You see how simple that was and how quick it is. These guys usually have a life expectancy of 7 to 10 years. I have seen them go out before that. Nice thing about this model here is it actually has the manufacture date or replace date on the front. Some models you do actually have to take it off and out of the wall, and it's got a data tag on the back of it. GFCI protected outlets on each side of your sink. These guys here underneath you would turn on by hand. And then we're going to have our thermostat for the air conditioner and furnace. Basically, you press and hold the power button to turn it on. And we'll comb through our settings. Right now it says cool. You just heard that guy kick on because I probably got this guy set at 60 degrees. But then down here it shows fan setting. Right now it's showing an A for auto. But we can change it to where it be on low or high fan. But in these two settings, that air conditioner will just continuously run and not shut off. Okay? So we do like to recommend the auto. After that, if you push this guy here, because it's also your mode button, it'll change you to the furnace. And then once again, shows that fan. Let me try to get back to that here real quick. The fan speed is in 0 for off. So generally you want to do that because if this fan speed is in low or high, the fan on the air conditioner is going to come on like it just did. I've seen numerous times in the wintertime where people will call saying that their air conditioner is running while the furnace is running. That is not the case. It's just the fan. So we always like to recommend the O for off. And then you have the fan, just the fan, low or high. And then you got what they call a dry setting. So with this dry mode, what that is actually designed for is that when it's really humid outside, you want to put it in the dry mode. So basically what it does is it actually will run for about 10 minutes and shuts off for about 6. What it's doing is it allows the compressor not to overwork and start potentially freezing up. Okay? And it will flash like that until it's kind of reached what it's want for the desired temp. Once that guy goes solid, it tries to say, hey, I've gotten to the temp. I'm not really sensing any humidity. And then from there, you can change it to cool. Just make sure it's in that auto setting. When you go to turn this guy off, you just press and hold. Just like that. All right, then you got your lock here for your bathroom door. We're going to have our toilet. So with the toilet, we do always like to recommend you want to try to have a little bit of water in there so that seal doesn't get dry, rotted, or brittle. But you would lightly press on this pedestal, you'll be able to add water to it. Do your business and then flush. It will always put water back in the bottom of that bowl for you naturally. One thing I also do like to recommend is you spray the bowl of the toilet with non-stick cook spray, and I hope everything slide down easier and it makes it easier clean for the cleaner. Also, when you go to first start using this, you do want to put a chemical in there. It's either going to be a liquid or pouches. If you do use pouches, I do like to recommend that you put water in the bowl first and make sure you see that pouch dissolve. I have seen many times where the pouches have not dissolved, and when you go to empty a tank, the pouch just comes out with everything. Okay, it's not doing its job. If you decide to get the liquid, what I normally do is on a cooking terminology, you go 1, 2. Okay, basically it's 2 ounces will treat a 40-gallon tank, which I believe this guy might be 39 gallons, but don't quote me on that. Or you can also put a shot glass in your medicine cabinet, and then you can just pour 2 ounces in there. I always look at it, you're getting the toilet drunk on cleaner chemicals. Next, we got the shower. This guy here just slides over, locks into place. I always do this for a test, like you're hitting it with your elbows. But basically, when you go to unlock it, you do usually have to, from the inside, you usually got to pull it forward a little bit, but pour towards you to release the lock and just help guide that guy back. And then we got our shower here where it does have a spray or a nozzle or a stop flow piece on here. It reduces the flow of the water because your water heater is only 6 gallons. The average American uses 38 gallons of just hot water when they take a shower. All right, so you're just outmatched out the gate. Okay, but with that button there, it will help you try to get the most out of your hot water tank, okay? And then, of course, your handles are hot and cold. We got our other door here for the slide over for the bedroom side. As we step into the bedroom side, each side does have its own little hanger rack on each side. You got 2 drawers here as well. 110 and USB hookups. But then there's a little cubby space on the back side of that. That's actually designed so if you want to set your phones there, you can. But it's also set up for CPAP machines. I'm seeing a lot more people using CPAP machines when they're going camping. And so is the manufacturer. So they started putting little cubby spaces there in the back for that. Then you do also have storage up above. Each side has its own individual reader light. And then you got your air conditioner for back here. This guy is manual only. So basically you would just turn it. The first one is going to say heat optional. So what that means is that this is designed to where you can put in an aftermarket heat strip or heat pump. It kind of varies on the models. But you would install that, you can put it in and you adjust your temperature to what you would want it. So generally for the heat side, it would be on this end here. For the air conditioner side, you want it more down here, but you can adjust it to where it would come on and off. But basically, you turn. Is here, it's going to automatically come on because it's designed to do that. And then you got your cool, that's going to be your low, medium, and high fans. And then, like I said, once from there, you just adjust that guy to what you would like. Turn it the wrong way. You got your filters. You do always want to make sure that you do check these filters on this one and on your main, because you want to make sure that there isn't too much dust or dog hairs or debris or anything like that, or not debris, but anything like that that blocks those filters where it's not properly allowing the air conditioner to do its job properly. And then we're going to have a fire exit window there. That's basically designed so if you guys cannot make your way to our door right here to get out, right here, if you cannot make your way to the door, you have a way to get out of your coach. This guy is on a hinge, so this here will just fling open. This would go through. They say they want you to try to pull the screen out. That's what that tab's for. But then, like I said, you can just completely get out. I do recommend feet first. Unless you're a good tumbler, then by all means, go head first. Then underneath, we're going to have where you have 2 little drawers down here. But a nice little area for storing, or you can put your dog bed there. So then the dog has its own place to sleep. Things along that nature. And then our light switch is going to be here. You do have a 110 hookup and hookups here for the TV. So it looks like I may have missed our TV antenna booster back there. So we'll have to go back to our TV to try to find that. Then back on the other side of the bathroom area, you got your light switch for here. You got your GFCI protected outlets. So if for some reason the outlets are not working around the coach, come and check and make sure this guy hasn't been tripped. We got our vent fan up top. It's manual, so basically you would just turn this knob to open the lid and then turn your fan on. All right, so then next, these guys here you turn on by hand, above here and the dinette. But then you got your 12-volt fridge. You can adjust the settings on here. Right now it's in the recommended setting. But as you see, it says multi-flow. So the colder you try to make this guy, it will actually, if you have that turned all the way up, it will actually freeze the fridge side of your items as well. But then down here, inside you got a little cute little miniature ice cube tray in the owner's bag with the manual and things like that. You may find some screws and some extra pieces in that bag. Basically, that was stuff that was not used when the manufacturers installed this. It's not extra part, it's not technically extra parts that wasn't assembled. It's just it wasn't needed. A lot of times manufacturers uses their own screws. They don't use the screws in that comes provided. Down here is where you can set the fridge setting. So you got a 4 or 5. I always like to turn it on that when I first turn it on to get it good and cold. Once it's there, then I usually will turn it to 3. And it even actually, nicely enough, will actually tell you your battery voltage status here as well when it's in the off position. So to turn this guy off, you're going to press and hold this set button for 10 seconds. Just moved over to the 5 for me. Wait. And oh, did it shut off? You are flashing at me. can't tell if it turned off on me or not. Let me go ahead and... Usually in the off position, these two lights right here, see, it's switching on me. These two lights here would light up showing that it's in the off position. Okay, I guess it did shut off. It's actually just showing that our battery is full. And you got storage space here and here as well. For your dinette, it's going to be a button right here in the center. Turn that on and off. You do have a attention sticker right there. That is basically to tell you that this has to be in the upright position during travel. This guy is on a hinge, or not on a hinge. Sorry, it's got two hooks that it sets in, but you would lift this leg up, pull it up, and then the table sits on these edges right here, and you fill in the table space with your cushions, and you have another bed here as well. And then you do have storage underneath both bench seats as well. And then we have our couch area here. This guy actually does fold out into a bed as well. Just gotta get these guys out of the way. Oh, this is the nice one. Then you just pick it up and it will fold out. Just like so. I'm not going to lie to you, this is actually one of my more favorite hideaway style beds for how simple it actually is to operate. But then this guy here folds down to kind of help cover that void. And you can also put those cushions there if you want it as well. I'm going to show you right here why this is my favorite hideaway bed. Literally, one finger, pick it up, and push it in. One finger. So
Nice.
simple. Love it. Love it.
If only they could all be that way.
If they could all only be that way. And then here on the back side is going to be where your bunks are. Each bunk does have its own light and USB hookups, top and bottom. But then you have another fire emergency exit window located on the lower bunk side. If they couldn't make their way to the entry door, okay? Then we got closet area and our drawer. And then there is storage underneath here as well, if you wanted to try to use some storage. Do always like to recommend when you are traveling not to leave the ladder up. Most times simply what they do is they actually will store this underneath this bottom mattress, so that way it's kind of not bouncing around and potentially damage anything, okay? All right, we have made our way back to the door, but I'm going to sneak right here because I was trying to look originally. Oh, that's why I couldn't find it, because they stuck it on the side. So, I was trying to find this originally for you, but this here is going to be your TV antenna booster area. So right now that light's on, so it shows that we're getting our antenna signal. When you're going to use the campground cable, you have to push this button to turn off. Basically what that's doing is it's cutting off the source from the antenna because it's considered a primary signal source, and it will allow that cable feed to come through. And then the top one is going to be your antenna. It is also pre-wired for Wi-Fi through the King company. I can't really give you a lot of information on that because I haven't really got to mess with the Wi-Fi's on the King or with the King style yet, so I honestly can't give you a lot of information on that, and I do apologize for that inconvenience. And then it does lock in. All right, so from there we have made our way all the way around our coach. Hopefully this video was knowledgeable and informational for you. If you guys do have any questions, please feel free to call us and we do our best to answer those questions for you over the phone. Thank you and have a wonderful day.